Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV with my co-host Jeremy Scipio
What's going on, people?
and some very special uh documentarians. I probably made that word up.
Yeah.
you know,
That's great.
That's good.
trying to sound cool. trying to sound cool. Some very special people, pattern integrity. I am glad that you guys allowed us to break this down, and I'll it's actually going to be educational for me because um, I take the approach of allowing Brown to manage his own relationships most of the time, and so I just kind of like step out of the double dutch until he kind of asked me to hop into it or whatever. So with that being said, um, I know that you guys do some really creative stuff. I know that you guys took an interest in what he had going on. I know you guys came to the office with a film crew and a bunch of fancy gadgets, and uh, you made some great content that looked really good, and it kind of allowed him to tell his version of him. It wasn't totally based around his career as a musician. It was more what interested me in it as a person on the, I guess, on the inside, but on the outside looking at it, it gave the perspective of the artist. It wasn't just like something that was in a jar or just like one dimensional or tonal. You guys kind of, you said a couple things I didn't know about the dude. Well, he was able to convey a few things that I didn't know about him. I was around when some of it was going on, but he never really articulated it the way that he did with the documentary. So I thought that was real dope. So with that being said, what city are you guys from?
We're in Portland, Oregon. Yeah. So we're way up.
You guys are dope. You guys hit the road too, huh?
Yeah. We
drove down there in 15 hours.
Yeah, it was quite a trek because we had thought about, oh well, we'll just hop on a flight and it'll be so fast, but then we're like, I think we did TSA once with all that camera gear and it was the worst. So we always,
because they make you unpack everything.
Got to go into the lenses
and the way you have your kit packed, it's like all super tight, everything's snug fit, and there's so much stuff, and they make you pull it all out. It's just like it's a nightmare doing TSA. So driving's the way.
The funny thing about flying, I started flying a lot probably around 97, like just a couple times a month. And it's crazy because before 9/11, you could get to the airport 45 minutes before your flight started, almost, and you would just whiz through. It was all good.
Yeah.
You were in the game. Two times since 9/11, I've arrived at the airport 3 hours ahead of time, international flights, and have one of them I came close, and one of them I didn't make it.
Oh my gosh!
With that,
crazy.
But this is what I'll say: I would rather them check than not check.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when I was growing up, my mom worked for U.S. Air, and I used to fly for free all the time through her. I lived on the East Coast, so I was in New York, but I would just be like, oh, I'm going to go grab lunch in Boston, and I'd hop on a flight and go to Boston, and or go up to Montreal, and then come home. And I got to know the people so well that they wouldn't even scan me. This is before 9/11. They would just be like, oh yeah, oh, it's so good to see you, like, come on in.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Man, those were the days, man.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
For sure. Speaking of, sorry, before you move on, I have a very interesting flight story that you and Brown that we recorded when we were down there, of him telling the story of you guys flying to Africa.
Oh man. Man, oh man, boy. Well, I'll tell you the part of the story he didn't tell you. So when we were trying to catch up with everybody for the video, we were told to get to the airport, I want to say maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we get to the we get from the hotel in Johannesburg to the airport where we're gonna fly. We're not gonna fly directly to Namibia, but we're gonna fly somewhere and then drive somewhere and then fly to Namibia. So anyway, so we get to this line, and you know, South Africa, it's not, you know, Mandela days where it's just like, you know, super racist or just whatever. But, you know, I guess there's a couple fragments that were left over from the way that things used to be. And so this guy gets to the airport, and he's just the rudest dude in the world, and he's cutting in front of people. And you know how you have the little things that the rope is kind of like a heavy, it's a heavy thing. It has a heavy base where the rope goes through it to kind of keep people in line or whatever. This guy is he's a Caucasian guy. He's upset about something, and he's so mad, he's picking up the you know, he's picking up the things and dropping them. He's like throwing this little tantrum. And me and Brown was like, hey man, we Americans, man. He better not bring that energy over here, man. Because everybody else was just kind of, you know, just letting him throw his tantrum. So we hop on a plane. No, first we get up to where you figure out if you're going to get on a plane, and they're saying like, nah, it's not going to happen. And then I called the Gorillas people, and then like, I don't know who they called or what they did, but 10 minutes later, they had us on a situation. So from there, we fly into this airport, and we get picked up by this guy who's about 23 years old, and he obviously has a hangover. and so, but he's picking us up in a car, right? So we're gonna drive to another airport. Didn't know this was gonna be the pilot for the next plane.
This is what I remember.
Yeah. So the dude is hungover, and I'll cut the story short with this. Once we got up into the air, I had a little MacBook, and I was watching Simpsons was my thing at the time. So I was watching Simpsons, and the plane was the size of like a Volkswagen Bug. Like it was very small on the inside. And so we're flying with this hungover pilot, and he turns around and he looks at me and he's like, "Are you all right?" I said, "Absolutely not." You know what I'm saying? It was the bounciest 2 hours I've ever rode in a plane, and I was not cool with none of that. None of it, but
that's crazy.
Terrifying.
It's so true that the smaller the planes get, sort of the more like almost out of control they feel. It's not a comfortable ride. It's like riding in a tuna can or something, you know?
Yeah, there's actually science to back that up, though. Like literally, you know, the smaller it is, the more it's going to catch like the wind and stuff like that. You know, I don't want to go all the way into it. I'm not a scientist, but there's actual factual evidence to what you're saying. It's definitely true.
And now they got those cushy flights where you can lay down. Have you seen those? Like you pay like a couple $1,000s, I guess, but you know, you don't. When you're on the flight, the international flight, and it's like 15 hours and you're like this, you know, like in a middle seat, like, man, that $700 ticket was sweet, you know, like you're like, oh, next time I'll try to scrape together that extra $1,000 so I can get a pillow and lay down, and you got the thing that goes up on the sides, and you know.
Those were initially made for people who had a fear of flying.
Oh, no kidding. That's
cool. But then, you know, of course, it's just like the able-bodied person being like jealous of the person in the wheelchair, like, I don't want one of those.
Yeah, how come I can't have that?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what made that an option. When was the first time you guys heard hip hop, and what was the song?
Oh man. Let's see. Let's go back to what was it, 87, I think. This is the first one I remember. It was 2 Live Crew. And I remember...
You nasty?
Man.
Go ahead, say the lyrics. Let's go.
Dude, I lived on a cul-de-sac, and I used to walk up and down the cul-de-sac, just like, what was it? You know, 70 miles south of here, so in the middle of Oregon. And I would listen to that on my boombox, and like, oh man, that was a whole other era. And then the what was it? Tipper Gore's wife had the
the parental advisory.
The
parental advisory sticker.
box
Yeah,
put on
she started
there.
that.
Yeah, and
That's
that,
what made you like it.
Yeah, it was actually like a reinforcement. Like, this is the one you want to buy. You know.
Yeah, was Too Loud Crew the first? Was that the first artist to have that on there? That was one of the first for sure, right?
That was the first album that had that label put on it.
So finish the lyric. Finish lyric. Don't stop. Don't stop. Pop that.
You want Me So Horny? Do you want dirty rhymes? Do you want let's see what I mean, I could probably sing dirty nursery rhymes.
Hey.
I think we take all of that.
you know what's dope about that? It's like different people have their I guess they're like marking points of hip hop. And I can honestly say you guys are the first people who are, well, person, because we're gonna get to her, where your reference point was Uncle Luke. Uncle Luke and everything that Uncle Luke, which he really deserves more credit than what he gets, because he was definitely a pioneer. Him along with Ice-T at the time, they were really advocating a lot for rappers' rights when it came to music and what was allowed.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a hard time saying that's hip hop. You know, that's hip hop. That is just like some hardcore rap. You know, like I think of hip hop. I think like the golden age. You know, I mean, it's all hip hop, right? You know, but like in my mind, the how what I came up into, you know, with like, especially being on the West Coast and exposed to you know, all the stuff coming out of Oakland and Southern California. Yeah, that's and the underground stuff coming out of the East Coast, you know, and Midwest too. So yeah.
I just watched they had another 50th hip hop anniversary, but it was the Grammys edition. And they had it's a long show, like it wasn't even an award show, it was just like a ode to hip hop 50 years. And they had just about every, I mean this with respect, every B tier or not as prominent hip hop act. Like you know, they brought back Queen Latifah, that MC Light, you know, just outside of the whole, like, you know, no Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas, Lil Wayne, you know, the typical stuff. And it was really good to see. But they gave Uncle Luke a portion, you know, and he did his Too Loud Crew thing. So yeah, you know, that is hip hop, man. It's definitely hip hop.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah,
and, you
we
know,
missed that. I wish I didn't miss that, but I feel like someone will upload it, you know, soon to YouTube.
Well, I hate to be this person, but Paramount Plus, but also, you know, download it illegally if you need to. But I'll pay for it.
Right on. Yeah. So my first experience with hip hop was Cookie Puss.
Oh.
So I'm from the East Coast. I was born and raised partially in Connecticut and then New York after that. And I was in the 3rd grade and my brother had a tape of Cookie Puss. And I don't know where he got it, and I don't know. I hope he still has it, because that would probably be worth something. But yeah, it was like all Beastie Boys all the time, you know. And then the first thing I bought with my own money, I got like chore money. I started getting chore money, and the first thing I bought with my own money, and I remember this, was the cassette singles that used to have the little cardboard thing that went over it. I'm like, that's it. And it was Biz Markie, You Got What I Need. So,
Hey,
you know, third grade worked up, you know, what the $2 or $3 that the tape cost, you know.
hey.
So
The youngsters, well, no, I won't say youngsters. I'll just say people who consume music of today, they'll never know the anticipation that came with sliding. Because I've ripped many of those, and
yeah.
you know, it had the little liner notes printed on it and whatnot. I got so excited. I was like, man, let me get this tape out of here, and we
Yeah.
about to bump it, like, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So-
also, like, on top of that, I know this isn't hip hop related, but I do think there's I mean, it's not that I think it, it's that there actually is quite a house music influence. As I've felt that exact same way anytime Jamiroquai came out with a new album, you know, I would just tear that apart, because I felt like Jamiroquai, that band was just doing so great progressively, you know, with just coming out with these incredible albums, you know, 90s, 2000s. But
I met oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, go ahead.
I met someone who grew up with Jamiroquai, and
stop at this instant.
we were talking, and it was so funny. And the dude I met, he's a credible guy. Like, he's not gonna lie. Like, he
Right.
wouldn't lie about. And he was like, man, I think he went to high school with him, but he said Jamiroquai was the guy that whenever there was a party or like a bunch of people getting together, he was the guy to jump on top of a table and start dancing.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
I can believe that. I said, I can
there's
believe
a great I can't think of the director's name, but the guy that directed the Virtual Insanity video, which, if you ever get a chance to watch the making of how they did that, that video is really entertaining. But
Mm-hmm.
I think this section is in that, but JK was basically like, you know, trying out some different stuff, and the director went up to him and was like, hey, you know, you're dancing kind of like this, and you might want to try something like that. And he was like, I've been doing this shit in front of my mirror since I was 12 years old. I know how to fucking dance.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, you know, enough said.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call that dancing. That's the next stage. It's, you know, I saw Michael Jackson interview where they said, why you grab your crotch? He was like, the music told me to. Like you said, it's just what it tells me to. And you can tell that that's exactly what is that JK? That's the lead singer's name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what he was going for. I just recently, I don't know, it's kind of ironic. I just went on a Jamiroquai binge because I was trying to convince myself that they had more than one hit. So
Oh, they do.
That's what I said. I went on a binge and I was like, oh snap, there's more stuff here, because I was just like, that's it. Virtual Insanity. It's gotta be more. That's just ironic that you brought him up.
Yeah, man, I was going to say, if you weren't able to find more than one hit, then we're going to have to cut this interview short.
No, I'm telling you, it was so recent. That was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Man,
I go through like a rabbit hole.
List. I'm gonna put together a list, and then the next time you're in LA, right? Next time we're down there, we'll be there in a few weeks. I'm gonna be like, if you haven't gone through the list, I'll be one of those people that's like, okay, let's sit next to each other, and I'm gonna play every song for you.
I'm like, huh? I can't hear you. What's going on?
Yeah.
So with you guys being who you are, what is your favorite medium to consume music? So, like, how do you guys consume music?
Oh man.
You know, honestly, my favorite is vinyl.
Yeah, we have like 1,000 records that way. You know, just on the other side of this camera.
But you know, I mean, honestly, like, probably just YouTube, you know, at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's me.
I have to say YouTube as well, because I like happening upon you know, music videos that they did too that you might not know about, and stuff like that. So when especially if you're experiencing a new artist and you find, you know, what else they're doing, it's pretty cool. But I don't know. Also NFTs, like that's not easy to say. We definitely like to consume music through NFTs because that money goes direct to the artist, you know? And one of our friends just developed, I don't know if it's the first player, but he developed an NFT player now. So you just load, you know, everything.
It's basically like a decentralized iTunes. It looks very similar to iTunes, but it's basically just pulling tracks that people have loaded from IPFS. And so if you connect your wallet and you have
this is the part where they start to gloss over and they're like,
if you got the assets, then you can download the files. But you can
when you said wallet, I heard a very loud Rolls-Royce jet engine, and it go just right over the top of this right.
Nah, it's not that high tech. You know, that actually brings a good question because, you know, you talk about the future a lot, and, you know, with music the way it is, you know, in like a future medium, like, do you think that music might ever go back to hardware? Because like that actually sounds like a good idea, like to sell an NFT, you know, a digital thing. If you can like put it in something physical, like a frame, just to play it, or, you know, that like might bring value back to albums or something like that, or, you know, just to take it to the next step, you know, like you think things could come full circle like that?
Yeah,
I think it can, you know, given enough time and enough like artists taking it seriously, understanding the value of it, and populating you know, the service essentially, or the blockchain, because you know, the value is in being able to have these things, and, you know, we could trade them, you know, we could sell them back and forth. I can give them to my friends, you know, vice versa. You know, it reminds me of like the mixtape economy, you know, from the way back, you know, and people trading mixtapes and stuff like that. I feel like the blockchain offers that ability. It's just about like our generation nurturing that and kind of like passing that along to, you know, the current generation in order for something like that to happen.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things I'd say too. One of those being once somebody has your music, so if I'm a musician and someone else has my NFTs, you now have those wallet identify it's just a string of numbers. So you have that wallet information now. And so I could be in the middle of a concert and I could say, you know, hey, to all my OG holders of this, you know, song, I just dropped a new song into your wallets and I'm going to perform that right now, you know, for the first time ever. Like there's some really unique ways for artists to grow the relationship between their fans and supporters. But I also think in addition to the artists getting on board, the fans really need to develop an understanding of how important it is for artists to get paid. And I think what's happening with the whole Spotify Wrapped thing that's been going around is a great example of exposing, you know, the many problems that exist. And it's great for fans to also be able to, you know, see other artists talking about, you know, Snoop Dogg saying, I had 1 billion views and, you know, what did I make? Like 45.
Yeah. Where's my $1 million?
Yeah, where's my $1 million? I made like $45,000 or something like that, you know? Yeah. So this is a way where it's like, you could sell a song and then someone can, you know, like I've got the song, or, you know, because I really like this artist and they're selling NFTs and there's a limited quantity, I might buy 5 songs. And then when it's sold out, I'll resell 4 of the songs and keep 1 to myself. But those songs that resell, the artist will get 10% of those sales in perpetuity. So that's just another model where it's like the artist is like constantly benefiting from their initial sales on a like a continuum forever. So it's a model that we're excited about. We, definitely roped Brown into that model. And
didn't charge him $90,000 to do it.
Yeah, didn't charge him we didn't charge him anything.
But we've made him like 3,000 LRC so far.
Yeah. And so, it's a technology that it's not that hard to figure out, but it does take some time to wrap your head around it. And then also to just have the understanding that this is the wild, wild west. So people will try to steal your information. And so you have to be very careful about what you connect your wallet to. And, because people can clean out, all your crypto, all your NFTs, everything just like that.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah. So it's a little bit, because it's decentralized, there's nobody looking over it. There's no tech support. There's no one to call and say, what's going on with my wallet? So you got to be careful. But that said, once you have that basic knowledge down and you know how to mint, I think the rest is up to your audience and to marketing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can bring some clever marketing tactics back into play, or just new innovative things. Just like you said, like just saying, hey, you're at a concert and they say, hey, check your wallet. I just put something in there. It's a little creepy, but at the same time, it's like a reward for you attending a live concert, as opposed to, bootlegging it or, whatever. You just watch it on YouTube. You don't get the same opportunity, the same chance. But yeah, I think that's very, I like you guys' take on that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a part of that in the future.
Yeah. And the possibilities are really endless. I mean, you could sell 10 of the same songs for maybe 10 times as much as you would charge. And maybe those are like gold VIP tickets. So if, just using Brown as an example, if he's on tour, and he's in your city, you can meet him backstage or something. There's so many ways to interact with your audience. And, like we were saying, it's like the exposing of the streaming platforms not doing what they really need to be doing. It's like, it's the timing is perfect, so it's cool.
Moving on a little bit, what's your favorite hip hop movie?
Oh man.
Boys in the Hood. I loved that movie.
Okay. Glad we got some little tame out of you. I thought you were gonna say Players Club. I'm like, all right now.
I mean, do the right thing,
Everybody says do the right thing though.
Yeah.
I've been watching this show for a while. And they also say Wild Style, right?
Wild Style's probably the number. Yeah, that's up there.
I'd have to say my favorite is the Defiant Ones. It's a docuseries about Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, yes, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I remember that. That was good.
Dang, I'm over here. I've heard people speaking about that documentary.
It's so good.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard people, and I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, so, the way that they tell the story of how they met Eminem is just really, it's just a great little section of that. But the whole thing is really great. Just lots of little stories that you wouldn't know otherwise,
Yeah, fun fact, my first little comedy tour was I named it Definitely because that was like a thing I said, but I stole the whole design from the Defiant Ones because that was the promotion that was out right now. I still use it, but I just changed it to like my name. So the shirts that you make, Smooch, is a ripoff of the Defiant Ones.
I'm gonna buy one now.
Hey, we need to get them online, man. Jeremy over here playing with it, man. He playing with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always a little hip hop in what I do. You might not notice it, but it might be a little something.
All right. I'm still learning. It's dope. It's dope. It slid under my nose. I didn't catch it. So we'll start with the mister. When you were in junior high school, middle school, what was the soundtrack to your experience?
Oh man. Yeah, so let's see. It went from Two Live Crew to Public Enemy, and then what was it after that? It was like, yeah, a little bit of NWA, but then it was like Too Short, and started getting into like Ant Banks and MC Pooh, and now I'm getting like into my like high school years, and hieroglyphics, Dell,
Okay.
Pharcyde. That was like junior year for me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
That's dope. And the missus?
Yeah, I would say I'd say like a combination of PJ Harvey for sure. Was a big deal for me, and Ani DeFranco was another one. And then for hip hop, it was definitely like Pete Rock, you know, Tribe Called Quest, definitely Pharcyde, and and for sure Adele the Funky Homo Sapien. I mean that song "Pissing on Your Steps" was like the best song ever. I mean, our kids know that song so well, you know.
Oh wow.
Hey man, shout out to Dale, man. He's one of the coolest dudes in the world, man. I can honestly say, yeah. Yeah.
I gotta take a leak on the week. Gotta take a leak on the week.
How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh
man, the youngest is 12 and the oldest is 23. So
okay. I was just wondering, like in my head, I had really small children saying that. I was wondering.
Yeah.
What do you think you'd be doing after high school? In your senior year.
Oh man. Well, okay, so senior year, like I started getting into Pink Floyd, and I think that was about when we started dropping acid and eating mushrooms, and I was like, oh wow, there's like a whole other world, like new galaxies, and music just kind of like consumed me at that point. And you know, I was also really captivated by recording stuff off MTV and Discovery Channel, Learning Channel, you know, because I mean we didn't have streaming back then. So if you wanted to like see something, you either had to catch it in real time or record it to watch it later. And so, you know, I really wanted to I really wanted to like get into events, you know, and just capture moments and stuff like that. Just as like a really like basic, like I don't know, that's what was like driving me at the time. Yeah.
And like we still have all those tapes.
I do.
So
like,
there's so many.
Hey.
So, and I know Brown's got a few of those tapes too. So he was going through those. So I guess it's on me, right?
Yeah. It's on me.
Oh, so I became a professional dancer. That was my thing. I wanted to dance on Broadway, for TV, kind of whatever. I wound up getting into a dance company. It was a dance school, but they had, you know, a lot of opportunities and stuff through that school in Toronto. So I spent a good amount of time there dancing. And then because it was a triple threat program, it was like dancing, singing, and acting. So you had to like get into all of that. And it's interesting because I had my dance teacher. So I was in like this advanced dance class because that's what I was there for. And all my other classes were kind of like easy, you know. And so I wound up doing like really well in the other classes. In my advanced dance class, I think I got like a D because it was just like, it was so difficult. And my teacher was Russian and he was so angry all the time. So it was like, nothing was ever good enough, you know? So it's kind of crazy, but it was also the time that I realized, you know, I gotta learn something else because this isn't gonna last too long, you know, the dancing thing. And especially back then, like in the 90s, like there was a time, right, where it's like you could, like, once you get past a certain age, like it's over for you, you know? So, so that's definitely, you know, what I was feeling back then. So I decided to get into some other stuff, go to school, college.
Drink a lot.
Drink a lot.
Bartend.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I, you know, I wound up doing like mass media communications type stuff. And I didn't go to film school until I came out here. I always wanted to work in the movies, but I kind of didn't know how. And living over on the East Coast and in New York, everything's like very theater oriented over there. You know, if you want to be in movies, you go out to LA. And I had a small business that I was running out of college that it was like a Craigslist ad or something random that I saw where it was an opportunity to go and work at this tiny film studio in Portland, Oregon, that was a stop motion animation studio. And I came out here on a whim, kind of sight unseen, and worked for this company called Leica, which made the movie Coraline, if you've ever seen that. It's a beautiful film.
Remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
So, yeah. And then I got into filmmaking.
Which is going to lead us into the next question. But before I get to the next question, Toronto, poutines.
Yeah.
I got stuck with the foodism part of it. I was listening to everything you were saying, but when you said Toronto and all that, so
you had me at poutine. Let's go.
all I know is cheese curds, gravy, and over fries. Great combination. A lot of people hate it. Either you hate it or you love it. I happen to like it a whole lot.
I'm with you.
I mean, what's not to love, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Fried food.
Comfort food. I went to Jollibee's. It's like I guess you could say Filipino fried chicken. It's like how you have Korean fried. It's like a Filipino fried chicken, but they give you gravy with the fried chicken to dip the chicken in.
Oh.
And it's pretty awesome.
Wow. Yeah, it's overrated. But it's overrated like crazy. But they talk about that like they ain't got Popeyes on every corner. Whatever. But they actually got a Jollibee's right here in Times Square. It's crazy. They're expanding. They're doing really well.
They have one over off the 101 off of Silver Lake. And I'm over there a couple times a week. So and it's expensive. And it is like Popeyes. You're absolutely right. It's a more expensive Popeye. Jeremy just gave me the hack. He just gave me
I'm sorry. Because I went on those foodie journeys, you know what I mean? And I was like, yo, everybody talk about it, you got to try it. And I'm like, okay, we got.
No, the chicken adobo rice, though. The chicken adobo rice.
Adobo. All right. That's what I'm going to put.
Front on that.
I'm going to go right across the street.
You guys want
and try
food?
It.
We got, like, the New York Times is writing articles about how Portland, Oregon is the foodie capital of the world. So if you guys want to try food, you got to come up this way. That's all I have to say.
I didn't know that's where you guys. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the food truck capital, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's like if it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you want a Belgian waffle with ice cream on it or chicken on the side or whatever, sushi, you know, or the hero trucks or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
There used to be an incredible spot right downtown in the heart of Portland that was like a huge parking lot and had tons of those trucks. It was every possible type of food that you could want.
It was
and
unbelievable.
then they put the Ritz-Carlton. They're like, decide that Portland for some reason needs a Ritz in it, which is like, we're so not Ritz.
Like the opposite end of
Yeah.
the spectrum from Ritz.
Yeah, we're
That's
like
funny.
the mismatched socks of Ritz, you know.
My mind just did it again. When you guys were talking about that, all I was thinking about was the Munchie Capital of the world. Like,
The Munchie Capital.
yeah.
What's the Munchie Capital?
What weed heads do when they get after they finish smoking.
Oh yeah.
I know, but is Portland the Munchie Capital? Is that
I mean, if they got all the food trucks, you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's decent.
People,
Yeah.
Well, we got the Green Mile here in Portland, and I know like 2 years ago it had the most dispensaries per capita along that strip than anywhere else in the United States. Actually, I think it might have been the world.
Yeah.
It
weed
was kind of
shops,
crazy.
yeah, weed shops, food trucks, and strip clubs. That's what we're known for.
That's funny.
And documentary films.
Documentaries.
Yeah.
And documentaries.
so with that
That's
being
funny.
said, what is the process?
All right.
Oh man.
Just getting into it.
Yeah.
So the process is a docuseries that was actually Pippin's idea. It's, you know, there's all these great things that are kind of like circulating around all the time. You got Masterclass, you got the TED Talks,
Mhm.
you got that kind of programming. Masterclass is great because it's a celebrity. It's very very heavily produced. So, you know, obviously that whole thing is worked out ahead of time, and there's whatever footage is shot is, you know, if it's a cook, you know, he's making pastries or whatever. You know, there's like a French, you know, baker doing pastries, or you know, Issa Rae talking screenwriting, and there's a lot of like graphics, and it's heavy with learning. And TED Talk is like, you got someone up there on the stage, they're, you know, doing their thing, telling their story, and hopefully inspiring people. And so for us, we were like, what's the process of how somebody works creatively is pretty fascinating. And if you can get with people who will let you inside of their mind, so to speak, like let you inside of kind of their life story, but how they've achieved success or have, you know, done incredible things.
Arrived at where they're at.
Yeah, like how they did what they did, why they do it, like what gets them up in the morning, like why do they keep going? You know, like for Brown, it's like why do you keep making music? You know, what is it about that? Like I've been down that hallway with the records and everything, you know, the platinum and the gold and all the accolades on the walls. It's like, you made it. You know what I mean? That's and he's his thing in that, in his process, he's like, I haven't done my best work yet. And I'm like, you're nominated for 2 Grammys this year. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just it. And that sort of thing, I think when other people who are getting into music or who are in music or other artists, kind of no matter what, I think each process has something to say to really anybody. And that's, you know, this is the trajectory, the span of like this person's life's work. And there's still that spark. There's still something that's keeping them doing that next thing. And what I love also about Brown is like, it's not just music, it's streaming, it's you know, the store, it's, you know, interviewing, and he's just such a great connector of so many people, that, I mean, it's impossible to watch that episode and walk away from it not inspired, to be like, shit, I'm gonna get my ass going. I'm gonna like work on that thing. You know, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get my butt in the seat and work on that thing, because I just saw like someone literally doing it and working through their own, you know, ways of, you know, completing. I think when we interviewed, he was in the middle of the remix for Suddenly. So we got, you know, that's in there, and how he's like trying to, you know, figure out what he wants to do for it.
Yeah, and where his lyrics go, like how, like what the flow is like, you know.
And going through, you know, like, I just think it's like, how amazing is it to have someone like Brown open up, you know, their filing cabinets and showing you the lyric books that they've got over the years, and like all the way that they write and how they do that, and the tapes that they have, and like, this is my first drum machine, and you know, like, here's all the records, and pulling out records and saying, oh yeah, we sampled this, you know, on this track. And I just think that whole episode really, I mean, I hope that it tugged on a lot of the 50 years of hip hop people's like heartstrings, you know. It was just a timely piece, I think, that we dropped for sure. And I'll never forget it. I'm telling you, I probably had 3 different versions of that episode, and I kept rearranging it and moving things around, and just because I wanted it to be so perfect, you know. And I don't think we mentioned, but I'm the editor and he's a cinematographer, and then he does a lot of my finish work, like color correction and sound engineering and stuff like that.
I keep her on the tracks while she's editing.
Yeah, while I'm smoking cigarettes, crying in the corner. That's what he, you know, it's like, it's gonna be all right. But
what's your favorite dream collab? Or say, what is your, who would you like to work with?
Oh, like who would we want to interview?
Yeah. Or to work like behind the scenes with, like,
oh man,
maybe another, you know, maybe another director or you know, executive produce, you know what I mean? Something to spice it up.
I think there's quite a bit to learn from working on the set with someone like Quentin Tarantino, or you know, is it Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite. I think there's so much to learn from, you know, the greats, you know, Spielberg and Scorsese and the Coppolas, you know, that would just be an experience in and of itself. Just to even be on set would be like, just like off in the corner and out of the way, you know. You just learn so much from that. And then I think in music, like, I mean, honestly, I would love to interview PJ Harvey. I would love to interview, like Pete Rock, Dell, you know, Ani DeFranco. I can't think of his name, but the guy from the band The, which is just another great band from the 90s. Yeah. So yeah. And what about you? I just named everything. There's no time for you to talk.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so a few years back, we started working on this documentary about Chicago House. And, you know, I found myself on the sidewalk in Chicago interviewing Robert Williams. And I don't know if you know who Robert Williams is, but
I think Greg is a house head.
Greg, you know who Robert Williams is?
Yep. Oh, my bad. I had the mute button. I was I was texting.
Don't left me hanging. Don't leave me hanging.
I was going back and forth with the real executive producer of the podcast. And then when my phone go up, yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, so I found myself interviewing him on the sidewalk in Chicago, and you know, I mean, I was like having to pinch myself in real time that I'm like hanging out with this guy, you know, this like counterculture legend, you know, just like an icon of bringing like so many people together and creating like or helping to like be the anchor, you know, be the spark, you know,
Helping to create a genre of music.
you
That is
know,
what
about love, about struggle, you know, about perseverance, just about being able to be yourself, you know, and not be afraid. And you know, so, you know, being able to work with somebody like that, after being, you know, a house head since the mid 90s, that's hard to top, you know. But I mean, there's so many people that are so incredible and inspiring in the world. Like, I mean, like we want to work with the surfer, you know, like we want to work with divers. I would love to work with like somebody who skydives, you know. I want to work with like just, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to like just dial it into like any one person, because there's so many cool people on this planet. It's just,
well, and also like I was thinking of this earlier, actually, Jeremy. I was like, I wonder, because it just popped in my head. I was like, I wonder what Jeremy's story is, because like that would be cool to do a process even on like comedy. Like that's because to me, like I don't know a lot about comedy, but what I feel like I know is that comedians tend to have a really interesting and almost dark side to them, you know. Like part of the work of doing the comedy is like you know, you're making people laugh because there's like I don't want to say like fucked up stuff, but like in, you know,
comic relief.
Yeah.
You know?
So
No, what? No, no dark side. I've never wanted to kill everybody ever. I want everybody the best for everybody. I don't have no dark.
well, I'm sorry, there's no story there, so I guess we'll.
there's an underbelly. I will say that Jeremy has sucked me in and privileged me to experience some of the things comedians go through. And like I've said on the podcast before, the first time Jeremy invited me out, I came to watch him, and it was interesting because there was like maybe 3 comedians on before him, and it was kind of like a mixed up crowd, and it seemed like the crowd wanted to laugh so hard, and the 2 comedians that went up before Jeremy just couldn't suck it out of him. and Jeremy went, and I was just like, dang. And Jeremy went up there and killed it. So then he kills it. He comes back to where I'm at, and he kind of apologized and like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. You know, you came out, it wasn't all that. And I'm looking at him like, man, you killed it. You know, he did to the people what a comedian is supposed to do to the people, but he showed me a side of comedy that was different than just walking into a comedy club, ordering some wings and a drink and sitting down and being entertained. I got to actually see kind of the side of comedians, you know, coming up and them really having to deal with that. And I was, you know, the thing that went on in my mind was kind of like, okay, you're a comedian, you come to a place to do your comedy, the audience is ready. But the beauty of comedy is timing is just, and that's where Jeremy's kind of like a seasoned comedian, where like timing is everything. You could say the funniest thing in the world, but if the timing isn't right, it's just kind of like, but anyway, that was my little tribute to Jeremy.
Yeah. I just think also like this, like the vulnerability, like I guess I also have, you know, had similar conversations like this with Brown too, where it's like you get up there on that stage and you're 10 times bigger than that stage when you get up there and do. And then when you leave that stage, you're like, text, hey, what's going on? Or whatever it is that you're doing in your normal life. There's gotta be something that you access in order to turn out that authenticity, because that's what people fucking pay for. And that authenticity really is only accessible through vulnerability, I think. I mean,
I would sum it up as because if you ask 100 comments, you'll get 100 different answers. I'd say what I noticed is I would say the process is mastering your insecurity, because everybody, because like for example, there are comics I disagree with how they do their stuff, you know what I mean? But I would say the fact that they're pushing through whatever they're doing, whatever the wall they built, they decide to push through that to give you some form of entertainment, you know what I mean? And I'd say I can watch somebody struggle, I can watch somebody like kind of fumble, but what's hard to watch is someone who hasn't dealt with their insecurity. Like it's just really hard. It makes for bad stage. You know what I mean? Now you can watch a good comic tell a bad joke. You can watch, a mediocre comic like fumble. You can see like there's some greatness in there, but I'd say, I would say the real exercise, the one consistent thing I would say is the mastering of the insecurity, and that requires vulnerability. That requires so many elements. It requires a lot of like you do all the research, but on stage the test. So now you have to block out all the information that doesn't matter, and the reason why normal people, think they can do it, and then when they get up there, they're frazzled because they haven't spent the 10,000 hours blocking out the BS, or it's just mastering insecurity. It's a lot of that goes into it. But once again, I could do this all day. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. There's a dark side. I agree with Smooch.
Yeah.
There's yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm actually doing it right now. I just got finished running these New York streets. Come to this podcast. Man, the New York streets got a lot dirtier than I remember. I tell you that. But yeah.
well, I mean, what did they say? Like the trophy is earned in the hours that no one is watching.
Yes. Yeah, but the goalpost has changed though. Now you have to make sure everybody's watching everything you do.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Be funny. It's like, so, and I know you guys want to get to the next question, but the one, I can't even think of his name right now. The comedian that was in rehab, he got out of rehab, just did a great show. I can think of the name of one of the shows that he did, which is called Kid Gorgeous. He used to write for Saturday Night Live. I can't think of his name. But I mean, anyway, he wound up, he was just massive into drugs, and just like was like, well, this is now how I do my show. I mean, when you think about people that are funny and like that we've lost.
Oh, John Mulaney?
What's
John
that?
Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
John Mulaney, you think of like Chris Farley, like you think of these comedic greats that, it was like either the drugs was the thing that made them better at their shtick, but that has this diminishing returns, so it's going to burn out, I don't know. We can move on from that. Otherwise I'll just start interviewing you, Jeremy, and then it's your show.
You know what? Let's make it happen. We could talk, anytime.
Sure.
Yeah, reach out. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys' first documentary.
Our first, well, what do you mean? Like
the first one we made?
The first one that we worked on together, or like how did we start on that?
Individually, your first documentaries.
Yeah, so I started just recording stuff in the mid 90s with the little Sony Handycam. And a lot of it was like I just wanted to capture like street life and underground like club life and that culture. And then I met these guys in Portland, and I think it like a Richie Houghton rave, and they said they were working on this documentary about ecstasy, and I started talking with them about it, and then I moved up to Portland. I quit my job, and I was like, I want to get into film, and this is kind of like what I'm doing. And these guys are like actually interviewing like therapists and chemists, and like the guy that synthesized it for the first time after the LD50 study that the government was doing back in the 50s. And he worked for Dow Chemical. And so he synthesized MDMA because it was on the list that it didn't kill the lab rats, but it had psychoactive properties. So he synthesized that and experimented on himself and found that like it was really interesting. It was like, I think he described it as like it was like being drunk without being drunk. And so he was friends with some therapists and introduced it to them, and they introduced it to their patients, and like found it had like these really incredible therapeutic properties. And then, you know, then it like spiraled out of control, and like the clubs got it, and like all hell broke loose when like the senator's kids in Texas got a hold of it and started overdosing. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
College students. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The senator's college kids. That's
where things came to a grinding halt.
Yeah, but yeah. So documentary on ecstasy. That's how I got. Like that was like my first feature that I worked on. It wasn't mine, but yeah, that was where I kind of like jumped in.
You know, I was gonna say college girls smuggling ecstasy from Amsterdam. Once again, somebody messing up the whole ease of flying from one place to another by getting caught doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah. It's spoiled the party for the rest of us.
But what about you, Kristen?
Yeah. So let's see. I feel like I worked on a lot of stuff, but didn't, you know, I became an editor through kind of an interesting channel. Even though I worked at Leica, that wasn't my job there. Pippin actually taught me how to edit when we met. And, you know, the editing wasn't the hard part. The hard part is story, you know, telling a good enough story, a story that's worth telling, you know, with a beginning, middle, and end, and you know, a surprising ending, and you know, just even in documentary, that's something that you want to, you know, try and go for. You want people to watch all the way through, and so I think I struggled quite a bit, but then I had to get to a point where it was like, just start putting out the work, just start. You know, just make something and then release it to YouTube. Make something, release it to YouTube, you know. And I started doing, you know, honestly, like, sounds kind of hokey, but I was like a mom blogger for a while. I was like making home videos that actually got pretty good. And doing that, you know, I'm kind of a weird mom, so it's not like videos about you know, coupons and
your weird mom. What are you talking about?
and shit like that, you know. And so and so but you know, and then like, so I was doing that for a while, but that sort of thing really helped me cut my teeth in editing and story, because the more I put out, and I was trying to put out one of these like you know, at least 3 per week. And
wow.
And so,
we were trying to do one a day, but
one a day
God,
was tough. but then, you know, so I wound up like, okay, I made like 100 of these things. Then we got to a point where, you know, and we had worked on stuff throughout the years, but nothing that was like a finished, you know, product, like a feature length film.
That was ours.
Yeah. So like ours alone. So then COVID hit, and, you know, the political mess that was just sort of like had everybody, you know, was just crazy all together. And I stayed up really late one night when he, you know, he couldn't work because, you know, it's camera stuff. Like, you can't be out in public. Like, this is during 2020 when that whole thing, you know, just hit. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to start making some shit, you know? And so I wound up staying up really late one night, I think till like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, God, you know what would be what like really holds its weight still right now with what's going on in the world is like that George Carlin speech, where at the end of the speech, he says, they call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And so I looked that speech, I looked it up and found it on YouTube, you know, stole it and downloaded it. And so
stealing is fair use.
Yeah.
Come on.
And so, and it's like,
well, he's over 100 years old, so it's public. It's public domain.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 12 minutes long, that whole thing. So I had to cut it down, you know, because Twitter at the time, you can only use 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I cut it way down. And I didn't even show George Carlin throughout that whole entire thing. I just overlaid clips, just all the shit that was going on in the world, and specifically this country, using that. We didn't think anything of it, whatever. It's just, you know, people are like, oh, what's your Twitter strategy? And, you know, you got to know the time to drop. And we were like, Saturday at midnight, like, you know, just.
Well, the drop strategy was, as soon as we get this done, we just need to upload it and send it off.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that it was like just after midnight, middle of summer, middle of the pandemic on a Saturday.
Yeah. So we, you know, just publish it. Woo. All right. You know, let's go to bed, you know, wake up the next morning and I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, our video has 1 million views on it right now.
And like notifications were ridiculous.
Oh my God, our phone was blowing up like crazy. And by the end of the next couple of days, I had 6 million views. We had DMs from Billy Baldwin, George Takei, Kelly Carlin. I didn't even know that George Carlin had a daughter, and she was messaging us, and just it was like,
it's not even that they were messaging us. They were like going to bat for us in the comments
and tweeting, and
for all these like wing nuts that were like talking shit about how like George Carlin wouldn't be doing this or saying this, or this message is all off. And like Tom Arnold's like, I knew the man, you know, you just need to stop right there.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was like, that was one of those things that was a really great experience. But, and I don't know if you guys have ever had this feeling before. Maybe Jeremy, maybe you do after you perform, like you have a really great night where you're like enjoying it for maybe the day. Maybe you enjoy that. You like surf on that wave of like feeling good for like the day or the rest of the night. And then you're just like, fuck, how am I going to duplicate this? How am I going to keep this going? What's next? You know, and people were like, what's next? You know, what are you going to do next? And we're like, I'm like, I don't know. I didn't have a plan, you know?
Yep. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So, and that video, if you ever want to look it up, it's called America Wake Up. It's on the It's if you can even find it on Twitter, hashtag America Wake Up. It'll come up for you. So, and we were nominated for a Webby for it, which was cool. Yeah. And we lost to Trevor Noah. So, you know.
Boom.
Well, I was happy. I was
America.
I was like, that guy has, I don't know how many people working for him. It's just us two schmoes in our garage, you know, working together. So that was pretty cool to stand like shoulder to shoulder. Be like, that's right.
USA. He's a foreigner. Yeah. Nah. All right, real quick, guys. Hot take. Jonathan Majors. Do you hear about the verdict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors.
Oh no.
Actor.
What happened?
He had a sexual assault conviction.
Another one. Okay.
Yeah.
Just add it to the
Well,
list.
no, not another. It's not what happened. Sorry, guys. I'm
Okay.
sorry. We can't go down that road. Sorry. Let's not do that. I know it's easy, but okay. Look, so
Okay.
let's walk it back.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah. You tell us.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. So Jonathan Majors, as you know who he is, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jonathan Majors, he was killing it in Hollywood. He just got finished doing Creed, and he was lined up to be Kang in the new Avengers film series. Yeah, Dynasty.
Yeah.
The newest Avenger movie is going to be called the Kang Dynasty. And
Killed it in Loki. Killed it in Loki.
He was set up to be like the star of the next like 10 Avengers movies. But regardless, him and his ex-girlfriend got into it when he was in the car because she tried to go through his phone. And this is all according to like what happened in the court because it's been being revealed over the course of the whole year. But basically, she goes to his phone, he snatches away from her, and then he jets out the car. She grabs him from out the car. They tussle back and forth. Then he runs away from her, runs blocks and blocks away from her, right? If you was following the court case, it would seem like he was like, I mean, everybody who was literally not in the courtroom felt like he had won this case. But I think he was tried for four cases, and they found him guilty of 2 assault cases. But basically the main one was reckless assault, which is basically unintentional reckless assault. Basically, because he pulled away from her and she allegedly damaged her finger, that he was technically responsible. And it's funny because this actually does not result in any actual jail time. It's kind of crazy. And the other thing he's guilty of was harassment, but it was non-criminal harassment, which also results in 0 jail time. But the judge will decide that. But a regular person wouldn't get jail time for these things.
Right.
But here you have Jonathan Majors, who was found guilty and lost his job.
You know what I have to say about that, and I think that this goes for everybody. This is my opinion, but I feel like maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I guess I don't really care. Nobody has any business going through anyone else's phone ever. Like I don't. That's not something that I just don't think it's anybody else's business. He doesn't go through my phone. I don't go through his phone. Like, I don't know. That's such a point of a way to like start the contention,
He was her gravy train. He started messing with this girl, and he was a talented actor, and his trajectory just went like it's like being in a plane that's taking off and you're moving at 45. He skipped 45 and he was at 90. He was going and so she knew he was on his way to something different. She, like, in her heart of hearts, she knew she lost it and didn't know what to do. And then he felt sorry. But then I guess that just goes to what he was guilty of was dealing with somebody like her. Because
how old was he? Do you know?
I can pull up the ages real quick. Yeah. How old was she or he?
How old is he?
How old is he? Yeah.
Jonathan Majors.
In his 20s?
Age. No, he's not in his 20s. He's 34.
Okay.
If he's in his 20s, I need to figure some stuff out.
Well, I don't know. I still think that 34 is pretty young when you're going parabolic with your career. I mean, I think that if you have a career that just sort of takes off, like mad crazy, if you don't have the right people around you, like as padding, the people that you can like count on, you know, to keep you in check, you know, then man, I don't even know. I don't know how, like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to trust myself. You know what I mean? Like, I would need the right people around me that I could be like, is this right? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I could only imagine how difficult that would be to be having that kind of experience and to not have an emotional, I don't know if it could be counted as like an emotional breakdown or something, but like I think if you're going through all this like stuff as like a celebrity and stuff, like, man, I think that stuff just wears on people, honestly.
Well, you know, not to get too far off base, you know, there are other details, but just slimming it down. I mean, it was him and an ex-girlfriend getting into a fight. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't want to put too much on it because technically he was a scholar person. I mean, he's a thespian. I mean, he's flawless. He's not an alcoholic. You know, he's nothing crazy. No trauma from his past. It's just him and this girl got into it, and it cost him. You know, I don't want to say everything, but you know, it cost him. You know, Oscar. Yeah, definitely set him back.
From Avengers to some Tyler Perry movies, man. That's
man. Well, I feel bad. I feel bad how I said it in the beginning because
no, you didn't know. How could you know? You know,
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, but that's my bad for just assuming. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's
it's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going on, so it's totally understandable. Yeah. I mean, you know, we switched the name, then boom, we're in the game. I can literally put a name in there, and boom, you can get right back to what she was about to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine. It's just it just happened, and I think it's emotionally affecting a lot of people. Because you know it's kind of like when you think it's an open shut case and it doesn't go your way. I think it's equivalent to you know, your favorite football team, you know, not going all the way. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, poor guy.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think there's any coming back for him? Like, I mean, like, do you think that, or do you think he's just this is it?
I think he's gonna be fine. I hate to say this, but I think he's gonna be fine. I mean, Robert Johnny Jr. You know, I mean, that's probably the biggest redemption quest. You know, this dude is he's not a drug, he's not an alcoholic, he's nothing, you know, too crazy. I mean, you know, everybody has a weakness, and his just happened to be this, you know, him and
this moment.
Well, look, I want to be a little more fair because we all have relationship drama somewhere, you know. His just happened to be caught in 4K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and then like let's also not forget like the other thing that kind of drives me nuts about you know, and I mean I just did it, so like I'll, you know, I'm calling myself out for it, but like I mean people change. Mm-hmm. So there's that. It's like Brendan Fraser, like is that who?
Robert Downey Jr.
I don't know why I said Brendan
Fraser. So people lose weight. People lose weight and get Oscars for it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. No, but it's so true. It's like people change. Like mm-hmm. Can we not just zoom out and, you know, and realize for a second that we're all humans here. Nobody's got a perfect life. And if you do, then A, you're not living, or B, you're not, you know, you haven't truly gone out there and fucked up yet, and it's coming your way, you know? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's bad when people judge and, you know, as though they have you know, a shiny, perfect life. Mm-hmm. And no skeletons in their closet. So
yeah,
I'll say this before we move on to the next one. What he did that really put the nail in the coffin was when the police came to his apartment. First of all, if he was in LA, his penthouse was ridiculous. But for his penthouse to be like that in New York, multi-million-dollar penthouse. Like it was a ridiculous apartment. And the police really they didn't know that he was an actor. They just seeing this black dude in there. And then she was a drama queen. She's laying on the floor. I think she was wearing a sweater, but she was naked from like the waist down or whatever. So it just like from the initial every single thing, it just looked horrible. The picture of it looked, regardless what the facts were, because they didn't even start talking about, they didn't even show the footage of him running down, him just getting out the car, like, man, I'm getting away from her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He literally just hopped out the car and just started boning out. And she gets out and starts chasing him. And it's just like, and then they said that I don't know if it was the driver. No, it was the driver. And they tried to put him on the stand and have him give his version of the story. And like, I think the judge instructed them not to, like, they weren't even, the only witness that was there, they wasn't even interested in what he had to say. So,
why?
Yeah.
Why were they interested? I mean, I wouldn't even. I mean, I hear you, but it wasn't even that. Even them going to trial was against him, so they didn't need to go to trial. That was the thing. You know, he had enough to say, "Hey, let's just drop this." But it's like, yo, you know, hey man, people be having pool in this game, which is you know crazy, you know. But regardless, I think the goal was to put smut on his name. I think more than anything, because they didn't want money and they want jail time. You know what I'm saying? They wanted what they got, which was to hurt his image. That's all. That's what else would the X want?
I thought Disney was gonna rock with him though. I really thought it was gonna be a fairy tale ending where it just all looked crazy. Disney did it as a ploy to blow up the next Avengers and all that kind of stuff.
No,
gonna come back.
You're talking about Disney. You listen to what you're saying. It's Disney. It's Disney. They have a jail at their amusement park. Disney. They were done with him from jump. They were just letting him go through the trial, win, lose, or draw. They were going to be like, "Hey, bro, it's been fun." Disney. Disney. Come on, man.
I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy world that we live in for sure. And I think that as long as I think people change, I think people make mistakes, and as long as they can say, "I fucked up, I won't do it again," and mean it, you know, like,
and then you got to just keep going, you know, like look at, you know, you mentioned Robert Downey Jr.
Brendan Fraser, you mean?
but you know what?
Brendan Downey Jr.
Brendan Downey.
Yeah, but
he bounced back though.
He turned it around. You know, he made a comeback. You know, I think it's just about, you know, your legacy is in front of you. You know, when you're alive, you just got to keep moving forward and keep doing your best work. And whatever mistakes that you make, you got to just take those and build something positive out of them.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. And so the rest of us get to see what he gets to turn this into, you know?
Yeah.
And while it's really difficult and it sucks right now, he could also make a huge impact, you know?
That's true.
So.
What's the best advice anybody's ever given you, Pippin?
I'm glad you're going first. I get to think.
Best advice anybody has ever given me?
Don't date that girl with the shaved head.
Man.
I had a shaved head when we met.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, it was like Sigourney Weaver meets Full Metal Jacket vibes.
We met on MySpace, the original dating app.
Wow.
I'm on the spot right now.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate the distractions. The best advice, man. I am not good at this, like, just off the cuff most of the time. I'm gonna pass the question to Kristen. We can come back to me.
I'm not prepared for that. I've been just like listening. I haven't been able to like tune out and get my answer.
No excuses.
Okay. Let's see. The best advice that I've ever gotten. I mean, honestly, I think it's simple. I think it's the show must go on, you know? I think it's, that like dance like no one's watching type shit, like you're here for a reason and go make that shit happen, there's really only one way to get, to reach your fullest potential. And that's just to like constantly be learning, listen, be aware of, who you surround yourself with. Don't be afraid to cut out the negative bullshit that, that you don't need in your life. And if you do something that like, pisses somebody off for no reason, give that motherfucker a reason.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Let the bridges you burn light your way.
Yeah.
So
oh wait, hold on. What's that one? There's a great hold on. If you have to say you are, you aren't. That's another one that I love.
Hey. I was gonna say, okay, I get it now.
So I got one. This is probably not the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, but my dad gave it to me when I was a kid. And, I didn't really understand it until later in life, but it's a play on the shoe fits. And, but his version, he had this story that went along with it, and it was called If the Foo Shits. And it was about this bird. And if the foo shits on you, wear it. And it was about humility and being humble and accepting the fact that you got the foo shit on you, and you just wear that and keep moving forward. And so
you weren't like, it's not that deep, Dad. I have bird shit on me. I don't want it on me.
Like, I don't want this bird shit on me. It's not just bird shit, it's the foo shit.
Yeah.
So if the foo shits, wear it. So there you go.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's funny because all these sayings I've never heard them before, but it sounds like great advice.
And like, what is this bird? What is a foo bird?
Yeah,
foo bird. What would your biopic be called?
Oh man, Stand Clear.
Stand Clear. Okay. Is separate names or together?
What's your name? What would yours be called?
Man, biopic.
See, I know these questions are coming because I've watched their podcasts so many times. So I'm like, I'm ready. Like I have all.
You weren't ready.
Already.
You weren't ready.
Just that one. Go. What's your answer?
She's fronting. Let's see. What would my biopic be called? Oh man. The Life and Times of Pimpin' Bread.
Pimpin' Bread.
Pimpin' Bread. Ooh.
It's his name is Beard, and
everybody, like, nobody believes my name is Pippin. Like everybody I meet, they're like, Pimpin'?
Kevin?
What?
Is it Kevin?
And my last name is Beard, and so I used to people when I moved to Portland, like it was a whole thing, and so there you go.
The Life and Times of Pimpin' Bread.
Yeah.
Pimpin' Bread.
Would you watch that? I don't watch that. Stand Clear.
Stand.
I like both of them.
Might be a worthy watch.
Yeah, I got to think of a better name for it, but
it's a good working title.
It's a biopic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
for Lifetime, the Lifetime Network,
the Learning Channel.
The Learning
It's gonna go
Channel.
on Vice, actually.
Vice.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So if people want to, first of all, I want to thank you guys for tapping in. This has been dope. We got to come back though, because there's a lot that I still don't understand and I still don't know. And it's, I guess, the technical issues of what you guys do. But I guess when you tried to raise the altitude just a little bit, like I said, I heard Rolls Royce engines and it was going. was
Hey,
going over.
we could talk
Okay.
about wallets. We could talk
Yeah.
about counterfactual smart wallets all day long.
I put
We can
that
talk
on.
about Theta Network. We can talk about Layer 2. We can talk about
All the whenever he starts.
You guys should ask her about her nude NFTs.
That's how I got my start.
If you want to put her on the spot, talk to her about her beautiful fine art. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
We gonna come back.
Too.
We gonna come back for that one because, like I said, that will be the technical version, and it'll be a shorter format so that the people with small attention spans can actually grasp what's going on.
Right on. Well, isn't Jeremy going to ask that question? I made sure that I was prepared for it. What was the question, Greg? It was like it was a risk-taking album. That's the one.
Oh,
you know
sure,
what?
go for it.
I skip right. Go ahead, Jeremy. I'll let you go.
Yeah, okay. What's your favorite risk-taking album? That's funny. She's not prepared for it.
This one. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah, because the internet.
Because the internet, dude. This album is phenomenal because
wow.
I mean, like, okay.
Yes.
But it comes with it's got a script that goes with the music. Like that's something. And it's a fucking banger. This album is so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Childish Gambino, because the internet. That's like, I would say that's the album that made him mainstream. Because he had music before, but yeah, that one. And throwing out a couple fun facts. Was it the 2005 started off as a Drake diss? No, that didn't start off as Drake diss. Sorry, he was mocking Drake with that song. He was like, "Oh, what if I just made a song like Drake would make?" Ended up being one of his biggest hits. Crazy.
Yeah, man, there's
that's
just
a good one.
So much that's great on this album. It's awesome. I love all the stuff that he works on, and Atlanta is. You know what, Atlanta. That's the other one. If it wasn't like favorite hip hop, documentary or movie, it's like if it's TV show, it's totally Atlanta. Like just the most brilliant screenwriting ever on that show.
And that if we could do a process on anybody, I would love to do a process with him. Yeah. So Donald Glover is just
Last thing I'll say about this, you guys probably already know this, but if you don't, he has a secret track on there that you have to unlock with a password. Oh, you guys know about that?
No,
I heard something about that. I haven't looked into
on this album that we have.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you picked that's like a dead on of that. That's like a perfect answer for that question. It's like he really has something that you have to decode, and because fans are crazy like that, they actually figured it out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to
because
go
the
more.
internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rad.
So where can people find you in cyberspace?
Pharcyde TV. Definitely Pharcyde TV. We got a podcast thanks to Brown. We were cranking out these episodes and kind of just going pedal to the metal. And he was like, why don't you start a podcast that's, that can run alongside your episodes. And that way it's like staying top of mind and stuff. And that was genius.
That was good because it brought us back around to when we started developing process. We actually started up the podcast exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
Process Live.
Yeah.
And
so it was kind of it was cool.
And we did like 2 or 3 episodes of that, and then it just kind of sat, on the back burner until Brown was like, you guys should have a podcast. We were like, wait, we actually do. We need to unearth that thing again.
Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can find us on the podcast is Thursdays at 3 p.m. on Pharcyde TV. Also PharcydeTv.com. I will say you can find us quite a bit on Twitter. I'd love to change that a little bit and be in on some other platforms, or kind of, maybe take a break from it. But I don't know where the off switch is on those things. So
Instagram, Pattern Integrity. You can just do a search for Pattern Integrity Films. And
Google, you'll find us.
We'll populate.
You can watch our TED Talk, which we also have.
Yeah, watch our TED Talk.
Okay.
So we're all over the place. Just Google Pattern Integrity Films. Yeah.
Cool.
And you, Jeremy, what you got coming up? What's up, New York? What's going on?
Yeah, I just say real quick. Tomorrow I'll be at Comedy in Harlem. That is the name of the venue. I'll be featured on my boy Big Kev Avery Mason's birthday show at 8:00. Comedy in Harlem. That up, and then also day after that I'll be at Grizzly Pear in Midtown, somewhere here in New York. So yeah, come check that out as well. You can find me at Jeremy Comedy on Instagram. Other than that, hit me up.
Jeremy, are you New York or are you LA?
I live in LA, but I'm currently in New York. I'll be here for the rest of the year. So
okay, cool.
Right on.
Well, when you get back to LA, I'm coming for you.
Okay, I'll be ready. Let's do it. I'm gonna connect with you guys. I would love to do your podcast as well.
Right on. Yeah, that would be rad.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right.
Real quick, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Your first foodie adventure when you got to New York.
I mean, I guess a chopped cheese, but that's like typical. And then I'll be honest too, but don't tell nobody. I had a White Castle because I haven't had a White Castle in a long time. But I just ate one, just because. Yeah, I had it back where where I'm from, Cincinnati. We had.
They good, man. They good. You just gotta eat a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't eat a bunch of them. It just get that taste to remind me of childhood. You know what I'm saying? I spent a lot of time in White Castle. So
all right. Yeah. That's dope. Yeah. Well, it has been a privilege to have you guys on. Very informational. Your story, very interesting. I never would have thought 2 Live Crew coming from Pippin and Biz Markie coming from the Mrs. That's very dope. That's very dope. So with that being said, this has been another episode of Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV. Thank you, Pattern Integrity. Thank you, Mr. Scipio. And we will get back with you guys. Peace.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.